I'm Dave Williams. I work in inclusive design at RNIB, and I also host the UK's leading podcast for blind and partially sighted people to explore the world of accessible technology. And Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Paul Porter. I also work for RNIB and I work in the library team. I'm a digital transformation manager, and that's promoting technology for people to access reading, be it electronic braille, audio, and smart speaker. I don't have any sight myself, and technology over the years has transformed my life out of all recognition.
So should we start then by talking about what is ARx Vision? How would you describe it?
It takes the use of a smartphone and particular apps that give information to blind and partially sighted people to the next level. There are several apps you can use with it, but it uses a smartphone. It connects to the smartphone with a cable, but instead of using the camera on your smartphone, the camera is mounted on a headset, and the headset has buttons with which you can control the app. So you can have your phone in your pocket and control the headset through you can control the app through the buttons. The headset has a camera, and with the camera you can find out all sorts of interesting and exciting things about what's around you, able to read print, recognise objects and so on. So it gives you the hands-free ability. You're not having to hold your phone. You've got the kit accessible to you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into
Indeed.
We'll get into the detail in a second, but that's the important thing, isn't it? That it's basically a way of for a blind person to access text and information about objects in our environment hands-free.
Yeah,
that's essentially what it is. You know, we can talk all day about, you know, the detail of how you use it and the controls and the apps and everything, but essentially it means that without touching your phone, you can move around and basically hear the text that's in front of you, or have an object be described, or even ask questions about it.
And because the headset's using bone conduction, so it sits in front of your ear, so it doesn't block out information that you would need as a blind person to navigate your environment. You know, if you were using normal headphones or, you know, in-ear earbuds, for example, a lot of the environmental noise that you need to navigate and you know, find out where you are and what's going on around you would be lost. So it's giving you that added information, but not impeding on the information that you need to get to move about safely.
It's quite a different experience, isn't it, from just using your phone? You know, so if you've got your phone in your hand and you're trying to, you know, scan an object or a document, actually, when you're using the ARx Vision headset, that's quite a different. It's a different vibe, isn't it?
Absolutely, it does feel very different, and you know, at the beginning it's a little bit odd, but very quickly you get used to the concept, and you know, just having the abilities to control your phone from the headset, I think, is a huge benefit.
Well, but it frees up your hands, right? Because obviously as blind people, we're quite often using one hand for a white cane or a guide dog or something like that, so we haven't always got two hands free to, you know, hold the document in place. And actually, if you are using two hands to hold a document in place, how do you then position your phone, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You know, so having the camera as a kind of a wearable, so that you can either use your hands for mobility or for manipulating the thing that you want to scan, that's the massive difference, I think, for me.
And it's, you know, it's a big safety thing as well, because if you're wandering around with a phone, be it an expensive phone or, you know, relatively cheap phone, because, you know, the system works on all sorts of different types of phone, which is great. But, you know, if you're walking around with a phone in your hand, you're very vulnerable to people just snatching it from you. Whereas if the phone's in your pocket, you've just got this headset and people aren't necessarily going to know what you're doing. And, you know, again, from an environmental safety point of view, I mean, I found myself, you know, you've got your phone to your ear and you're trying to use your cane and you're trying to listen to what's going on around you. And, I found myself falling off curbs or, banging into lampposts or street furniture that, if you're not paying attention with your cane or your dog, then, you've got that possibility. Whereas if you've got the headset, it's sitting there giving you information, not impeding your ears, but also giving you the ability to control it very easily just by putting your finger up to your ear and pressing the button to get the information you need.
So how have you used ARx Vision so far, Paul?
So for me, I think there's probably three features I use the most. The scene recognition, I think, is very good. That takes a picture and tells you what's around you. And it can give you just a very brief description, like, it might say a table with, chairs. But with AI, as we'll come on to later, you can get a much more in-depth description of what's around you. The ability to, pick up a bit of post, or I have my grocery shopping delivered, so I can just pick up a package if I'm not sure what it is and use the headset to read that information. And in terms of shopping too, you've got the ability to read some barcodes, which can give you a lot of information about, a particular package of be it food or a tin of something or whatever it might be, which can also really be helpful.
I think for me, the two situations where I found it to be most helpful, one was I was in a restaurant trying to order some breakfast, and I had the menu in front of me, and I was able to hold the menu in both hands because obviously I'm wearing the camera, and then ARx Vision takes the picture of the menu, gives me guidance about how to position that document in the eye line of the camera, and then I was able to ask questions about it. So I'm a veggie, so I wanted to know about the vegetarian options, for example. The other scenario, also food related, was in my kitchen. So if I'm making lunch and I open the cupboard of the in the kitchen, it's full of tins in there, right? All, you know what it's like, tins, they all feel the same, don't they? You don't know if you're opening the beans or what you've got. So just being able to hold up a can, and hear what that is very convenient.
And it is, if you've got a document, or indeed a tin of beans, or whatever it might be, you've got to have the document flat on the table. You've got to hold the phone at a requisite distance above, and then you capture the image. But some of the apps give you sort of ongoing text, so it's reading text in a live situation. It doesn't just take a picture then read the text. So you're having to hold the phone above the document, then you're having to try and listen to what it is, so you put it up to your ear and then it picks up something else. Whereas if you're using the headset, you hold it in front of you at kind of eye level, a little bit away from you, and the headset will read it to you, and you can adjust it, and as Dave said, you can ask it questions about the content. So it is I think it's a much more interactive way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah. How did you find the learning curve getting started? Can you remember the first time you used ARx Vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think initially it felt different because I was used to, picking up my phone and trying to read something, that way. Whereas you've got a static headset on your ears. And for me, it took a few minutes just to get used to the concept, something on my ears, and I hadn't used bone conduction before, so that took a little bit of getting used to, hearing information as you would normally, your surroundings, but also having this, speaking to you through the bones in your skull, pretty much. It's a clever concept.
Yeah, because the band that kind of goes around the back of your head, so you're kind of wearing it with the band around the back of your head, and then the speakers sort of sit in front of your ears, so they're not blocking your ears, and then they're, like you say, they're vibrating on your cheekbones, so you can still hear the people and the environment around you. And then you've got the camera on the right hand side, you can adjust that up and down to get a good position, and the buttons there are quite tactile as well, aren't they? You can feel them very easily.
Absolutely.
And then we've got volume on the other side as well. And then how did you find the sort of the setup when you first connected it?
So one of the great features is that you can have your phone set up. So when you plug in the headset, so it plugs into to USB-C. When you plug it in, it will automatically launch the app. So you don't have to. All you need to really do is turn your phone in, plug in the headset, and you're straight into the app that you want to use, be it ARx or Seeing AI, so you don't even really need much phone knowledge, and by that I mean you don't need to be an expert on using the touchscreen on your phone, to actually get the most out of the product. And I think that's another big benefit, that you can pretty much get it, unbox it. Once it's set up, it's just a case of plugging it in and pressing the buttons to get the information you want.
And the very first time you use it, it's going to ask you a couple of questions about permissions and stuff like that, and that's normal.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get those again. That's just going to happen on that one occasion, and then after that, you then get into, it's almost like a startup wizard or a tutorial that kind of introduces ARx Vision and kind of talks you through how to use it, what the buttons do, and you kind of practice basically. So you know straight away what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is designed to be easy to use, but it is a very powerful tool. And as I say, I think I used to work as a technology officer, sort of advising people on how to use technology, and the big thing was, blind people learning to use touchscreens. And they are very usable once you get used to the concept of using, touch and different gestures. But, it is a big learning curve. Whereas with ARx Vision, it's just a case of, switching your phone on, plugging it in, learning the tutorial, and then using all different functions that are available.
So the ARx Vision app itself, that's got that tutorial to kind of get you up and running, and then you've got those various ways in which you can use it, either to read a document or look at a scene or something like that. And then you can ask follow-up questions as well, which is a bit I really like, actually, is that being able to ask those follow-up questions. What's been your kind of favourite aspect of the ARx Vision app, would you say?
I think for me it's this sort of scene recognition. It's giving me information. I've never been able to see, so I'm still astonished by how much a tiny little camera lens can see, the angles up and down, left and right, and so on. And it is quite fascinating. And with the introduction of AI, in the last year, it's been a game changer in terms of providing information about your surroundings, or even in terms of a document, and it is, for me it's almost like a miracle that it can recognize so much information and give you it in a detailed way. And sometimes I just think, wow, how did it do that? How does it know there's a lamp to my left and a few feet ahead, or how does it know the colour of the carpet, or that there's a vase on a table, or I don't know, whatever it might be. It is quite stunning, and we're just at the beginning of that technology. So who knows where we're going to be in a month or 6 months or a year, or in terms of AI giving us so much more information.
Microsoft have been working on AI for ages, and I don't know about you, but I've been a long time user of Seeing AI, which is a really popular app in the blind community. Works on both Android and Apple devices for recognizing text and objects and people and colors and currency and all sorts of stuff in the environment. So I was really chuffed that ARx Vision works with Microsoft's Seeing AI app.
Even it will recognise even some handwriting, which is again fantastic. But and like ARx Vision, you can set it up so it'll launch Seeing AI automatically, and then you can control the Seeing AI app. You can go to a different sections, like text recognition, document recognition, scene, person recognition, just by pressing a button on the headset. So it works the similar way to the ARx app. And again, with scene recognition, you've got, it'll give you a very basic rendition of what's around you. But in recent editions of the app, you've now got AI, so it'll give you much more in-depth detail of what's around you, which for me is just it just kind of makes you wonder what's going to be possible in the future. But just to get a piece of post through the letterbox, open it, hold it in front of your face, and within a few seconds it's reading it to you. Or it can, take a picture and capture it, and just incredible stuff, really.
RNIB for quite a while now have been working with NaviLens, which is a next generation QR code. This is like a colourful QR code that you can recognise from further away. You can recognise multiple NaviLens codes at the same time. It also guarantees that when you scan that QR code, you are going to get accessible information, because that's not always the case with a regular QR code, is it? You remember during the pandemic when we all had to start ordering in restaurants using QR codes, and you go to these horrible websites that didn't work very well with screen readers. So that for me is the beauty of NaviLens, and that's another app that works right out the gate with ARx Vision.
It is. So I mean, the thing about QR codes or barcodes, they are quite often difficult to find with with any app, and there are a few apps that'll give you that information, but actually finding the code is often quite difficult. Whereas with NaviLens, it can pick it up from, several meters away. And there are various, organisations and, some, I think there's a bus station, I think it might be Coventry, that are using QR codes to identify, using NaviLens codes to identify bus platforms and so on. Kellogg's have it on a number of their packaging, so again, you don't have to scan around to find the barcodes. You just hold your phone or the headset at the box, and it will pick it up, and it can give you as much information as is programmed into the code. So if everyone used NaviLens codes instead of barcodes or QR codes, it would be great. But but more and more companies and organisations are using it. You can also create your own, which might be useful around the house or for labelling things. So again, there's lots of potential.
What's your hope for the future in terms of what people might be able to do with ARx Vision going forward?
I mean, I think there's so much potential using AI, and I suppose we should just say, AI, artificial intelligence. It's all over the news. It's been used in all sorts of different applications. But for me, I can see a future where you're walking around and your headset's telling you what's in front of you, what's around you, what shops you're passing, what buildings you're passing. Oh, yeah, look, there's a number 38 bus coming down the road on your right. Oh, there's scaffolding here, there's people here. There's all sorts of potential, that the ARx technology is about providing information, in terms of what's around you, in terms of being able to read print, recognising people. It might even be able to do that without having to program the person's details in the first place. But then, of course, you might have regulation around that, because is there going to be a database of everybody on the planet? There probably isn't, and that, but I suppose what I'm saying is there's all sorts of possibilities, and with GPS technology, which has been around a long time, that can get you to within a few yards of something. But then using AI and using your headset, you might be able to exactly pinpoint the door to get into a building or a particular room number or a particular shop.
Yeah,
Then
that last 10
information
metres.
within a shop. Yeah, the last 10, absolutely.
That last 10 metres is always the tricky bit, isn't it,
Yeah.
when you're making a journey? So that's where ARx Vision might be helpful. Do you know, as much as I love the potential of AI and can't wait to see what's around the corner, I think an unexplored opportunity might be using ARx Vision to connect to human assistants as well. So services like Be My Eyes or Ira, you know, and I'm sure there will be others in the future, because as brilliant as AI is, it's not perfect, is it? You know, no technology is perfect. And
Sometimes
it hallucinates, you know, and sometimes you want to check something with a human, or you might have somebody that you know that you want to speak with specifically who's got, you know, some expertise. You've got a mate who's, I don't know, really good at DIY, and you're trying to put a bookcase together, and you can maybe call them and say, you know, oh, give me a hand with this bit, you know, or the instructions or whatever it is. So I hope that, you know, as well as AI, we can blend that with human support as well.
And I think object recognition, you know, is something that's really coming on. It would be fantastic just to be able to, you know, pick up a tin of beans or pick up a book or an object, and, you know, within a second it tells you what it is. So you could potentially go into a shop and browse the aisles, you know, yourself. So,
well, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting anyway. Well, Paul, thank you very much, and exciting times.
Indeed.
And yeah,
looking forward to it.
If you get a chance, let us know what you're doing with ARx Vision.